year is 1985. I'm about 8 years old and my dad introduced me to a film called The Terminator. This is the first time I ever saw The Terminator. Wow, I was impressed. So the story goes, this is about an unstoppable cyborg assassin who is sent back from the year 2029 by a race of artificially intelligent computer-controlled machines bent on the extermination of mankind. The Terminator's mission is to prevent Sarah Connor's son John Connor from forming a resistance against the machines. Rebel Kyle Reese tries to stop the Terminator by also travelling back in time to protect Sarah and fathering Sarah's future son John Connor. In this video, we're going to travel back to 1988 through to 2003, looking at all the various incarnations of the Terminator to date. We start off in 1988. A Danish company called RetroB8 had acquired the license to create games based on the film, but it subsequently went into receivership before any game could be released. Interestingly, another magazine title from the previous year suggested that RetroB8 had struck a deal to distribute a joystick from Denmark called the Terminator. Was it possible that RetroB8 were trying to see if they could obtain the name via another means to do an unofficial game on the movie? So now we're going to take a look at games that did actually make it into production. The Terminator, DOS, in 1991. The Terminator was a DOS action-adventure game based on the first movie. In September 1990, Bethesda Softworks announced a deal with the Hemdale Film Corporation to create a computer video game based on the Terminator. Bethesda Softworks developed and published the game in 1991, and it was the first officially licensed game based on the Terminator film series. Set in 1984, the player takes on the role of Kyle Reese and protects Sarah Connor from the cyborg sent back in time to kill her. Alternatively, the player can become the Terminator and eliminate Kyle and Sarah. Either way, the player chases his opponent through Los Angeles, buying or stealing weapons and equipment while attempting to eliminate his enemy and avoid the police. Todd Threadgill of Computer Gaming World wrote that the game did an excellent job of capturing the original film spirit. He also wrote that the film had always seemed like perfect material on which to base a computer game, and that one can only wonder why designers waited so long to produce a game based on the Terminator. But gamers should be thankful that the wait is now over. Gene DeCosta and David Crook of the LA Times rated it 3 stars out of 5. The Age praised the game's title sequences and the Terminator theme music. Guido Alt of Articular Software Market criticised the graphics and controls and rated the game 5 out of 12. Personally, out of all the games in this video, for me this one is the worst. What do you think about that, Arnold?
Fuck you, asshole.
Now we move on to 1992 and the NES version. A Terminator game for the NES platform had been developed since 1989. Sunsoft's game, Journey to Celius, was originally conceived as a game based on the original film. The license expired during production and the final game altered its graphics and created its own storyline. A NES game was eventually developed and released in December 1992. It is a side-scrolling platformer developed by Radical Entertainment and published by Mindscape and Bethesda Softworks. The player plays as Kyle Reese, starting in the future with a gun and grenades fighting Terminators. The game consists of platforming and driving stages. The game was criticised for its poor graphics and audio and its extreme difficulty due to the lack of continues should the player lose all of their lives. The Sega versions hit the shelves in 1992. As you can imagine, the Game Gear and the Master System games are very similar indeed. Here we have the Game Gear version, which was also released in 1992. So to the gameplay. As you can see, the game is a side-scrolling shooter with objectives that vary from level to level. Level 1 sets Kyle in the future in search of a time machine. Level 2 has Kyle searching for Sarah in the present time, where Level 3 has him reuniting with her after a brief separation. The final level features a deadly confrontation with the Terminator's endoskeleton. The first level features 3 weapons, while the levels after that only have 1. Players have a 5 health point system which deplete by each hit from enemies. This is replaced by a percentage bar in the Game Gear and Master System versions. As you can see, from the Game Gear version here, it relied heavily on the platforming aspect. So, to 1992 and the Master System version. This is the version that I wanted when I was a kid. I did have a Master System for about 6 months. What happened was, I got chickenpox. So, being off school for a couple of weeks, I was probably going to drive my dad absolutely mental. So he come back with a Master System and the Ninja, but that's another video completely. The game that I did eventually get was the Terminator. So this was the first Terminator game I ever owned. As you can see, it's virtually identical to the Game Gear version in every way. I did enjoy it back then, but as I found with a lot of games at this time, I found it extremely difficult to get anywhere near completing these games. I don't even think I got past the second level. Some things never change. Many machines give the Sega Master System version an 82% rating and praise its graphics and animation and called it a top-notch platform shoot-up, which is slightly spoiled by being just a mite too short. So again, in 1992, this was the Sega Mega Drive. It was coded by Probe Software and released by Virgin Games on all the Sega video game consoles. The Terminator by Probe Software is an action-adventure shooter game programmed by Dave Perry and scored by Matt Furness. The main character Kyle Reese traverses through levels that closely parallel the movie's environment. In all levels, the main character has a jump and has various weapons throughout the game. The first level takes place in the future, and the main character has hand grenades, time bombs and machine guns, as well as weapon choices. The later levels take place in modern settings, and the primary weapon is a shotgun. The final level takes place inside the Cyberdyne factory, where the player battles a Terminator alone. The objective of this level is to lead the Terminator into a compactor which will destroy him. Dave Perry wanted the player character to be a Terminator, but Orion Pictures mandated that the player character had to be Kyle Reese and that there would be only one Terminator in the game, fought at the end of the game. To create the character movements in the game, Perry and game producer Neil Young were recorded as they performed the moves. The footage was digitised in black and white onto an Amiga computer with the use of Deluxe Paint. The actors were separated from the backgrounds and colorised before being added to the game. The text on the scrolling intro, Hemdale's The Terminator, which is only in the Mega Drive Genesis version, refers to the independent Hemdale Film Corporation who produced the original movie. Once the studio closed, Orion Pictures became the owner of most of the films Hemdale had once owned. Zero rated the Genesis version 84 out of 100. Reviewers for the Electronic Game and Monthly praised the Genesis version for its graphics and music. Mean Machines gave the Mega Drive or Genesis version a 43% rating and said that the game featured some of the best Mega Drive animations ever, plus fitting highly detailed backgrounds, as well as some great tunes and sound effects, but there's a few crappy ones in there too. The magazine also criticised the game's 4 short levels which take no time to complete. After that, there's nothing much to hold your interest. (1993), and we have the Super Nintendo version. The SNES version is a side-scrolling shooter developed by Grey Matter and published by Mindscape in 1993 for the Super NES. The player plays as Kyle Reese again, trying to stop the Terminator from killing Sarah Connor. The main levels are side-scrolling shooters. The two sub-levels are pseudo-driving levels, where the player has to shoot the Terminator to stop him from shooting back. The game is very difficult due to the length of the levels and the fact that the player gets no continues if they lose all their lives. There is minimal music in the game, as the sound effects tend to be much louder. Reviewers for Game Fan were critical of the game, but they did praise its driving levels. The SNES version was the game that was part of the Angry Video Game Nerds episode on the Terminator Games. In the review, he criticised the lack of directions to aim, the game's overall difficulty, comparing the former with the superior game Contra. Also noted are platforms you can miss jumping on enemies on the ground when you can't shoot them at the ground. He also notes that there is a maximum of 6 lives when you can clearly get up to 9, and that the lives are depleted rapidly. So although this does look like a really nice looking game, it just doesn't play well, unfortunately, which is a shame. But the driving levels, yeah, they're pretty good. So, we move on to the penultimate video game in this video. This is the Mega CD, or the Sega CD version, that was released in 1993. Personally, I've got to say that out of all the games in this video, this one, to me, looks the best. So, after all that lovely FMV, let's get down to some details. This was another game coded by Virgin Games USA and was developed and released by Virgin for the Mega CD, or the Sega CD. The game was originally scheduled for release in June 1993, but was delayed because of changes at Virgin. The graphics and the music took advantage from the Sega CD's capabilities, and the game includes the use of full motion video from the film. The game's development was based on the Dave Perry engine. The musical score was done by Tommy Tallarico, Bejan Shahir, Joey Kuras and Techno Man, and the music is generated in Q Sound. The game is based on the film, but creative license was taken to give more variation to the gameplay. As in the film, future soldier Kyle Reese goes to the time displacement equipment located inside a Skynet base in the year 2029, travelling back in time to Los Angeles 1984 to protect Sarah Connor from the Terminator. Game Fan called it a great action game that made good use of the CD with its extra animation, FMV and a great soundtrack. Gameplayers rated the game at 62% and called it an average platform game, but praised the soundtrack and digitalised cut scenes. Sean of Sackheim of All Game gave the Sega CD version 4 stars out of 5 and wrote, "The graphics always stay pretty bleak, this time from design and not from the system's limitations. Even the neon-lit dance club Tech Noir, the backgrounds remain dark-lit only by the bars of neon lights around the level. The dark and dreary graphics actually lend themselves nicely to the mood of the game." Sackheim also praised Tallarico's score, saying it added a ton of impact to the graphics and the mood of each level. While it may not have been the best looking action platformer game around, it could definitely give any other game a run for its money. So guys, we finally move on to the last game in this video. Normally I'd say last but not least, but definitely in this case it is least. This is not a good game. I wouldn't have been happy with playing this on my mobile phone, even though it was released in 2003. This is a shoot 'em up developed by Infusio and Cybico. It was released by Infusio in 2003 for the mobile phone platforms Brew, XN and Java ME. I added some in-game music to the background, just as there isn't any in the actual game itself, which is another major letdown. So guys, that's our journey come to an end. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the games from the Terminator, which is a huge nostalgic film for me. Not all the games are very good. I'm hoping that in the future they do bring out maybe one or two more. It'd be really interesting to see what a PS4 or PS5 version would look like in VR. But then I pretty much say that about any game these days. I do love VR. Please leave any comments, likes and dislikes and all that sort of shenanigans in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you guys. From RetroB8, goodbye.
You're a terminated fucker.
I'll be back.